Hey everybody, it's Lon.TV, and there is a format war potentially developing for the future of over-the-air television here in the United States. The big broadcasters, of course, have gotten behind ATSC 3.0, but as we've noted many times on this channel, the restrictions they've put on how you can receive those signals has made it very difficult for consumers to watch TV, and also very difficult for companies to make tuners to tune into those TV stations. And now we've got an owner of 60 low-powered TV stations across the country who's making a request of the FCC to not use ATSC 3.0 technology in the future, but rather a competing technology called 5G TV that would use your existing mobile phone technology to receive TV and other data signals over the same frequencies that these TV stations are currently broadcasting on. And this is something that the chairman of the FCC, Brendan Carr, the new chairman, has been very adamant about seeing develop here in the United States. So there could be a chance here we might see two different paths for the best TV solutions. So we're going to dive into this topic in just a second, but I do want to let you know that this video is being brought to you by all of you. That includes everyone who watches and subscribes to this channel on a regular basis, along with those of you who have contributed to the channel either through my donor box page at Lon.TV/support, or through my Patreon or the Google YouTube membership program and Floatplane. And of course, we've got our merch store here as well. I try hard not to have too many sponsors here on the channel, so if we can build up that subscriber base, we can make it happen. But again, I really appreciate everyone's support. It does keep the lights on around here. So let's dive into this story a little bit here, and I want to credit Luke over at Cord Cutters News for spotting this one. And HC2 Broadcasting Holdings is the company making the request of the FCC. Again, they want to use 5G TV in the future and not ATSC 1 or ATSC 3. They think 5G TV is where they want to go with this. You can see a map of all the stations they own here across the United States. They've been slowly gobbling them up. My guess here is that they see far more value in data casting in the future versus broadcasting today. And if you look at the quality of programming that they offer, it's not great. So two of their channels are infomercials running 24/7. Most of what they're broadcasting is 480i, not even in HD. But they do have a few retransmissions of the Law and Crime Network, which I think you can find here on YouTube, along with Fubo and a news channel and a couple of other things there. And it's actually kind of sad to see what happened to WTXX TV here in Connecticut, because this was my go-to independent station back in the 80s. All of my favorite cartoons were on that channel, both before school and after school, and now it is all this stuff. And I am sure the owner of this station now would love to have it be more profitable. And that's what made this story so interesting, is that they don't see that future with ATSC 3.0. They see a potential future with 5G TV. So what is it? Well, it is working over the same technology as your 5G mobile phone. All the radio modulations are the same. And they've designated a band called Band 108 that consists of 470 megahertz to 698 megahertz over this 5G standard. And this happens to be the same range of frequencies that these low-powered TV operators currently broadcast on. So they have the frequency already. It's just that they need permission from the FCC to send this out versus an ATSC 1 or 3 signal. And again, this broadcast group would like to exclusively send out these 5G signals versus what they are currently allowed to do. Unlike a mobile phone signal, though, this is a receive-only data cast. And of course, in this instance, video is being sent, but they're not limited to just video. They can send all sorts of data through this pipe. It's not all that fast, but you could probably get, I don't know, 10, 15, 25 megabits per second of overall bandwidth here, especially enough to run a couple of channels of video. So there's a lot of potential here for them to do a lot more. And the reason why this is so attractive is that because it's using the same 5G technology, you could conceivably have new smartphones have these antennas and receivers built in, and you could access these TV stations with your phone without even having to have a subscription. So you could go to Walmart and buy a $20 burner phone and be able to tune into live TV, receive emergency broadcast information, and who knows what else they could come up with. And this is one of the big weaknesses of ATSC 3 in that they don't allow you to watch TV on your phone because they've restricted any kind of gateway streaming even inside your house. So here you've got the potential for a lot of cellular phone devices to be out in the market that could receive these signals without any additional hardware other than perhaps an antenna getting installed on the motherboard to be able to receive those signals. But it's a much easier lift to adapt a smartphone design to this than it is to put an ATSC 3 chip inside of a smartphone. Now, one other thing to note here is that this is similar to ATSC 3 in many ways because they are sending IP over this signal, but I think it's a lot more flexible, and there's certainly a lot more potential for a much broader consumer adoption, given that most consumers are buying phones over and over again and using radio technology to use those phones, versus folks who are not buying ATSC 3 tuners, primarily because it's so restrictive. So this, I think, is why these lower-powered broadcasters see some opportunity here. They also see opportunity with the new FCC chairman, Brendan Carr, who's been hinting at datacasting as being a better use of these frequencies versus just a straight-up television signal. In fact, he told the broadcasters as much at a recent event. And you can check out my video where we took a look at what Carr has said in relation to broadcast TV to get a better feel for that. But he feels that broadcast internet makes a lot more sense than broadcast television does. And that seems to be what these local broadcasters are trying to hone in on here. One other thing to note, though, is that right now the same tuner problem largely exists because most mobile phones today, if not all of them, can't receive the signals that would be coming off of one of these 5G towers. So it would require new phones to have this built in the future. Now, of course, the mobile phone industry would be very much motivated to do this. They could probably find some ways to make money with it as well. But right now, there are more ATSC 3 tuners out there than there are 5G TV tuners. So it's very much behind in consumer adoption, even though adoption on ATSC 3 isn't great. Now, they had some good ideas in this filing, too, about how this technology could work in emergency and other situations. One example here from the HC2 filing was of a stadium event where you've got a large crowd of people that might want to tune into some video of the event that they're attending to get a better view of it. Or maybe you've got an emergency at that event and you need to get maps and other information out to the guests quickly. Because this is a one-to-many broadcast, those phones tune in as opposed to allocating all of that bandwidth to themselves. So you could see how that could be very useful, a lot like a transistor radio, if you will. Additionally, when you have a broader emergency situation, not only could you get emergency alerts out to phones, you could tune into a video broadcast, maybe from that broadcaster, about the weather event that you're experiencing. And because it's working with 5G, you could easily set up temporary cell towers to be able to transmit that data more efficiently and get it out further. So there's a lot to this that I think could really work. Of course, the question, though, is would this have DRM on board? I would say probably, because the only people that care about DRM are us consumers. So I would expect them to have some kind of locked down scenario here. However, it might not be as bad as ATSC 3 because if their goal is to have every smartphone be compatible, that would include having to get Apple phones working. And right now, the ATSC 3 standard won't decrypt on an Apple device because they chose Google for their encryption technology. So if nothing else, this might expand out the limitations a little bit so that more devices could tune into the encrypted signal if there were to be one. Additionally, I could see very inexpensive set-top boxes being made with this because you could just get a 5G radio, plug it into a cheap tuner, and you're off and running with it. A lot less complicated, perhaps, than the ATSC 3 standard is at the moment. So we'll see where it goes. I think this is interesting. I would love to try it out. Unfortunately, there's nothing out there I can try it with. But if the FCC does grant this request, it would give these low-powered stations the option to do this if they wanted to. And so this broadcast group might. That might spur some development, especially given how much of the country they currently cover with their low-powered broadcasts. It might improve the quality of what they're offering. So I think this would be a good thing for the FCC to allow, to give some choice and to let this market kind of figure itself out. And that seems to be what this new FCC chairman is all about. So we'll see what happens here. I predict this might be something the FCC approves. That'll do it for this one. Let me know what you thought down in the comment section. And until next time, this is Lon.TV. Thanks for watching.